Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all the land. I'm your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, we're going to be breaking down all 12 fights from UFC 275, no Vegas this week, coming to you this Saturday, June 11th, headlined by none other, the light heavyweight champion, over Teixeira taking on Jiri Prochazka. Guys, first, before we get started, be sure to check out teamriseorfall.com. If you play DFS of any kind, you need to get over there right now. Use code MONK, save yourself $10 on a subscription. Get in that Discord, get on the website, get the projections that you need, get the information that you need, and the help from the experts that you need to take down those tournaments. I'm serious, DFS sports of any kind. Check it out, teamriseorfall.com. Use code MONK, save yourself $10. Secondly, check out the MMA Engine guys over on Twitter, MMA_engine, or on YouTube, MMA Engine. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Check out the content we have going over there. It's me, Brady, Wheezy, and Lou Betya bringing you content several times a day, every day before each and every UFC card. So be sure to get over there and check that out, guys. Thank you so much for doing that. And lastly, like this video, subscribe to this channel. I'm on the road to 300 subs. You guys are killing it out there, so I really appreciate it. It really does help just clicking those two buttons for me. This video is coming out a little bit early. I am leaving town this week. I'm going to be headed to visit some family, visit my parents down south in Texas this week. So I'm putting out a little bit of content early, but I do plan on releasing content and making all my live appearances this week for the DFS show on Wednesday, for a happy hour on the MMA Engine with Lou on Friday. So I will have my stuff with me. If everything works, then I should be able to get content out for this big UFC pay-per-view week. So guys, I've talked long enough about nothing. Let's get onto it. And before the end, I will try to show my Computer Monks picks for UFC Vegas 275. I'll also have the optimal lineup from UFC 275, and I'll also have the optimal lineup from yesterday's card, UFC Vegas 56, if you guys want to check that out. Because it is Sunday, it is a bit early in the week, so I can bring you a little bit of extra content. First fight of the night, guys. Jocelyn Edwards going against Ramona Pascual. If you remember, Ramona Pascual fought and lost to Josiane Nunez in her UFC debut back in February. Edwards herself is on a 2-fight skid. Not too much UFC experience here, only 4 fights between them. Edwards, $8,700. Are you kidding me? 2.26 points a minute, 76.87 when she wins. Ramona did lose that fight pretty handily in her against Nunez, but it did go to decision. I do not expect Edwards to get a finish here. Pascal's been finished, what, twice in her professional career, so I guess that is 2 out of 3 losses. I just don't expect it, and those scoring numbers do not make me want to back that $8,700 salary at all. She's almost $1,400 over her average salary. She's never put up 90 points. Let's see, Pascal, on the other hand, she did lose that fight, like I said, but scored over 3 points a minute, so pretty good there. Problem is, both these women allow over 4 points per minute so far. I know Nunez is a very high-volume striker, so that was pretty difficult to avoid. Did she land any takedowns in that one? No, Ramona landed the takedowns in that one. So I would kind of be fading this fight a little bit, at least this early in the week, till I do more tape and whatnot. 8,700 is too much for Edwards. If I'm going to be on anyone for GPPs, it's probably going to be Pascual, but I just don't. I'm going to have a hard time getting there on that side as well. I mean, Edwards does allow over 2.18 points per minute in takedowns and control time, so that could be an edge for Pascal there, especially if you're trying to get some takedown ground points. As we know, DraftKings does favor that style of play. So give me Pascal. My God, these strength of schedules are terrible. Absolutely terrible. She's under 60 in almost every category. 36 strength of victory. If you don't know what these numbers mean, it is on a 1 to 100 scale. 100 is perfect. Anything over 70, you're sitting pretty good as far as strength of schedule. Anything less is pretty bad. And I mean, Edwards is less than 70 every category, and Pascal is worse basically every category. Here's the raw DraftKings points per minute. Both women getting outscored per minute, but trending up. You like to see that. Here are my projections. Whatever you think is going to happen in this fight, here is how Computer Monk thinks that this will score. Actually, some pretty high projections from the Pascual side. So hopefully we can bank on a couple of takedowns, maybe some control time, get a greasy decision that could score, you know, maybe over 80 points. And at 7,500, that could be a decent score this week. So keep that in mind. I'll be pretty much off Edwards. I do not expect this one to finish inside the distance. And that's kind of how I see this one. Next fight, Silvana Gomez Juarez, La Malvada. I don't speak Spanish too well, but I'm pretty sure that means I stick myself in arm bars several times in a row. I think that's the rough translation for La Malvada there. Liang going against the Dragon Girl here this week. 7,600 for Liang and 86 for Gomez Juarez. I mean, my goodness, how can you back Gomez Juarez here? 2.61 points per minute. No UFC wins, allows almost 6 a minute, and 109 is what her opponents have been scoring against her on average. She's 0-2 in the UFC. So over her 2 losses, 109 points is the average. She's also $850 over her average salary. Not sure how I can explain that, but there we go. Now Liang coming in at exactly the salary she was in her previous UFC fight. 6.34 points per minute is what she scores. Fortunately, she gave up 6.6. I don't know how you give up more than Silvana Gomez Juarez, but there it is right there. 112 is what she gave up in her first fight. So this one could just be, you know, you have to play this one a little bit, because the winner's probably going to get a finish. I mean, it's going to be a race to see who can score 100 points first, basically. I mean, Gomez Juarez allowing almost 5 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Liang in her one UFC fight scored over 3.1 points per minute on the ground. So again, much like the Pascual Edwards fight, I kind of will be on the underdog here for sure. Liang, as far as GPPs, I don't know how you could put Silvana Gomez Juarez in a large chunk of your lineups. Her takedown defense 16%. I mean, and she's only fought 70% or 30% of the time at distance. So Liang is someone that definitely focuses on the ground game, it seems, at least in her one UFC fight from previous. But this is one you'll have to do your tape on. Liang's got 24 professional fights, so definitely do your tape on this one. She did get beat by Ariane Carnelosi, but that was her first UFC fight. I'm willing to give it a pass here. Strength of schedule is trash for both girls. Under 70 again for Liang, and it's well under for Silvana Gomez Juarez. Just not good at all. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Again, both women getting outpaced. Here are my projections. Very high for Liang, as you would expect. Even decently high for Juarez. But like I said, both of these women give up points non-stop. Almost 6 a minute on average. Actually, over 6 a minute. More like 6.2. And here are the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages. Pretty high in wins in their pro career. 86% finish rate. 78% finish rate in the UFC so far. It is that. Wait, that can't be right. Nope, never mind. That's losses, not in the UFC. 77% in losses have been finishes. So, yeah, probably an inside the distance fight. Definitely one I would look to target over our first fight of the night for sure. And I like the Liang side much better. Third fight, Kang versus God, I can't ever say his name right. Danaa Batgeri, I think is how you say it. Hopefully. We'll have to see what Bert says this week. 3.73 points per minute for Kang. What he's scoring, 98 when he wins. Giving up only 2.8 and 76 when he loses. Pretty good, but he is 6-3 in the UFC. Not very consistent. He is $720 under his average salary with an average value of 9. He does have the highest DraftKings point score per loss on the card at just under 50. Definitely keep that in mind. Maybe an interesting cash play here for Mr. Kang. Let's see here. In 5 of 6 of his UFC wins, he's put up over 90. 4 of them, he's put up over 110, averaging 1.5 points per minute on the ground. Very good, but does allow almost 0.8 points back at him. Let's focus on the Danaa side for a second. 3.88 points a minute, 114 when he wins. My goodness, he is 3-2 in the UFC, so a decent sample size there. Does not allow a ton of points, 2.65, 83 when he wins. Or sorry, when he loses is what he gives up. Excuse me. Gee whiz, can't even breathe or anything today. Minus 160, his average salary is what he's coming in at. Huge differential in points there. Love to see that. All 3 of his wins, he has scored over 100 points, so very consistent. This is another one. I'll probably be playing Kang in cash and Danaa in GPPs. I mean, I'll have a bit of Kang in GPP, but I mean, Danaa is a GPP darling for the most part. He did just drop his last fight to Chris Gutierrez, where he got KO'd in the 2nd round. It was a beautiful thing to see, no matter what side you were on. But before that, he's KOing 3 guys in a row: Davis, Natividad, and Kennedy. Not huge names, but they're names. So I do like the Danaa side for GPPs. Kyung Ho Kang just lost to Hanayaya pretty decisively, but then did rattle off 3 wins before that, 2 split decisions and a submission. I think the schedule is pretty even. It's going to go to Kang, but not by much. I mean, pretty close on all of these numbers, just under 70 across the board. Here is the raw DraftKings points per minute. Both men are above their opponents, and well, Danaa's trending up. Kang is trending down. Here are my projections. Pretty similar, right around the 80-point projection for a decision, as you would expect. And then Danaa obviously winning the visual statistical recap with much more real estate, I should say, with the grappling points clearly going to Kang. That is his definite advantage here. I mean, this is a pretty... Danaa is going to be the better striker, probably. What are my... he is 2 inches shorter than Kang with a 3-inch reach disadvantage, so something to think about there. But Danaa packs a punch, man. Then my aggregate pro and UFC career finishing percentage is pretty high across the board. Drops a little bit when you get into the UFC, as you would expect. How am I going to play this one? I think I already said I like Kang for cash, a little bit in GPPs as well for that takedown upside. But I do like the Danaa side for GPPs. How do you not love that? 114 when he wins. I mean, just a fantastic number. 124 point ceiling. Fairly decent there. I absolutely like that play. I'm gonna say love, but clearly, I mean, I absolutely like it. It's such a weird thing to say. Sorry, it is a bit early on Sunday. I'm trying to get this done. I got a ton of stuff to do today to get ready for the trip, so it's a bit early, so bear with me. Next fight. This should be an interesting one. Jake Matthews going against Andre Fialho. Andre Fialho's looked fantastic in his last few fights. This might be the time to fade him. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about it. 7,700 for Matthews. 3 points a minute, 91 when he wins. He's a 15-fight UFC vet. Unless you're a fan of his, there's no way you knew that already. I mean, 15 fights in the UFC is incredible. 1.99 points a minute is all he allows. 88 on average when he loses. He's also $911 under his average salary with a differential of 1 point per minute over his opponent. Pretty decent numbers there. You know, nothing jumps off the page, but everything is a bit better than average. Meanwhile, Andre Fialho has made the optimal in 2 out of his last 3 fights. He is $8,500, fantastic salary to play. Only scores 2.69 points a minute, so he is a bit finish dependent for a large score there. 109.88 when he wins. Does give up 3 points a minute and only 80 when he loses. But he only has that 1 UFC loss to Miguel Pajeda that did go the distance. He is $467 over over his average salary. I don't know why, I just forgot how to read numbers. Almost a 10 average value, so some pretty good numbers there. This one's going to be an interesting one to target. I kind of like, I'll have a little bit of Fialho. Obviously, he's made the optimal in 2 out of his last 3. He has huge finishing potential. The issue is Matthews not really getting finished by KO TKO. He has been finished 3 times in the UFC by sub. Fialho only 1 sub on his record. That is not his game at all. So I'm not too worried about that. Meanwhile, Matthews, 50% of his 10 UFC wins scored over 90. 3 of them he scored over 102, over 110. Meanwhile, his opponents have given up, or his opponents have scored rather over 90 in 3 of his 5 FC losses. He does average, over 1.1 takedown and control time points per minute. So very good there. See if what he could do against Andre Fialho. That would probably be the game plan. You do not want to stand and strike with the very heavy-handed Andre Fialho. Statistically, Jake Matthews a bit better almost everywhere except that takedown defense. Maybe a bit of grappling time fought, but still not grappling. If you're not grappling with Fialho, there's no way he's going to grapple with you. So that's why that number is pretty high. Here are my strength of schedule numbers, just at about 70, a bit over for Andre Fialho. So looking pretty good there. Last five five stats right here. Then Matthews losing to Sean Brady, undefeated fighter. No shame in that. Coming off wins over Sanchez, Mech, and Achman. Nothing is really screaming there, but he did handle his business in all three of those fights. Hasn't scored over 100 any of those wins, though. So that is interesting. Meanwhile, Fialho, like we said, averaging 109 in his 2 wins and did get beat by Michel Pereira, his UFC debut. Here are the raw DraftKings points per minute stats trending up as Matthews is above his opponents, Fialho right under. Here are my projections, pretty low unless it ends in a finish. There are these guys scoring off the charts as far as per minute numbers. And then Andre Fialho. I mean, this is a very similar graph to the last fight we saw. Fialho with the huge real estate and Matthews with the grappling points. That could, that is what could come into play here. If Matthews is able to clinch up Fialho and keep him inside the distance, that would be huge for Matthews. I think he can at least get a couple takedowns. He can avoid getting knocked out, which is difficult against Andre Fialho. I think he actually has a good chance to not only win this fight, but possibly make the optimal lineup. 7,700, not a bad salary. This is actually a great salary pair to play when we're talking about salary voodoo here. And in fact, a fun fact about salary voodoo, the $7,700 salary has a better win rate, 50.85, than its $8,500 counterpart, which only wins 49% of the time, guys. So that is a very interesting little stat to think about. And this is over like a 61 fight sample size or something like that. So how am I playing this? Probably a bit of both sides. I'll be lower on Fialho probably lower on the field than on Fialho. I think Matthews could win a greasy decision here, score 80, 90 points, and maybe do okay. Probably not make the optimal lineup, but if he can get that into triple digits somehow with multiple takedowns, we could be seeing an optimal lineup of Matthews. So I do kind of like both sides a bit for GPP. I like Matthews better for cash, as I do think he wins the fight. But I'll probably be lower, like I said, on Fialho than the field. Next, Steve Garcia going against Maheshate. Maheshate, just a Dana White Contender Series fight. Very unimpressive. He did win that fight, but he only scored 1.48 points a minute. He would have put up 52 in that win, so very, very low there. Was a 15-minute decision in which landed no knockdowns, no takedowns, and just 49 strikes. Barely won according to the metrics. Not too interested in that. Definitely somebody I'll have to do my tape on, but generally I'm fading guys 25 letters in their name until I see what they can do in the UFC. Steve Garcia, meanwhile, hasn't fought in, I guess it has just been over 6 months, really. 1-1 in the UFC, 9 wins by KO TKO. $8,400 this week, 3.46 points a minute. 116 points is what he scored in his 1 win. Allowed 72 in his loss, so not too bad there. 350 over his average. We don't have a ton of stats on him, obviously. With such a small sample size, did put up almost 1.5 points per minute in takedowns and control time so far into his 2-fight UFC career, but did get controlled for 1.17 points a minute, which is huge. So definitely, again, do your tape on this one. These are 2 guys that have hardly any UFC experience. In fact, one of them has no UFC experience. The other one has 22 minutes. 100% takedown defense from Garcia. I don't know if that's just defending one or whatever. We could actually look at that real quick. Takedowns. Yeah, 0 for 1 against. So, something to brag about there. Strength of schedule. Look at the strength of schedule for Maheshate. Under 50. Under 46 in every category, basically. That is dog shit. Steve Garcia, meanwhile, 65, which isn't good. Like I said, you want to be over 70, but 20 points better at 65 is trash. I don't know how you could start Maheshate in a ton of lineups. I mean, maybe for the high variance, you play him in GPPs a little bit, but I would have tempered expectations. I mean, guy would have scored 50 some points in his Contender Series. I'm just not. I need to see it first. Basically, need to see it. Not much for this one, guys. Definitely this one you'll have to do your tape on. I guess for cash, I'm taking Steve Garcia. Maybe GPPs as well. I mean, Maheshate's never been finished, but he only has 7 pro fights, so I just don't know how you could back a guy with that little of experience coming from where he's coming from, you know, with the history of not having great UFC debuts a lot of the time. So give me Steve Garcia. Probably a bit of Maheshate, like I said, for the variance, because I just don't know what's. I'm sorry, that was kind of a shit breakdown, but I have no stats for them, honestly. So do your fight tape. Sungwoo Choi. No one can ever accuse me of just being a stat boy. In every single video, I'm begging you guys to do your fight tape. I do think that is just as important, if not more occasionally, than just looking at stats. There's no way you can. I wish you could win just by looking at stats, but that turns out to be a bit more difficult, I think. Anyways, we are flying, guys. I'm going to try to keep this one quick. Sungwoo Choi going against Josh Culibao. Or Culibao, sorry, I always say Culibao. 9,100 for Choi, 2.94 points a minute, 92, and he wins. A bit lower numbers than I was expecting from Choi. At 9,100, he's $917 over his average salary. He gives up a ton of points, 3.3 per minute, and 101 when he loses. He is 3-3 in the UFC, so I just don't know what to do about this. He's going up against Culibao. Let's check out his stats. Only 1.76 points a minute, very, very low volume. 58 in his one UFC win. He is 1-1-1 in his 3 fights. $700 under his average salary. Did give up 106 when he lost. Must have been a finish. He got KO'd by Jalen Turner. Tough UFC debut, that one. But $7,100, man, but 58 points per win. I don't know how I could possibly back that. I'll be on the Choi side here, likely for cash. Maybe some GPP action, a little bit, you know, maybe 10-15% on Culibao. Maybe 20-25 on Choi. Just, I'm not a fan of this one for GPPs, according to the stats. You know, obviously, Carolina Kovalevich just made the optimal lineup. No one predicted that would happen. So you never know with fights like this. But I'll be on the Choi side for cash and a bit of both for GPP. Culibao has yet to score over 90 points. Meanwhile, Choi has scored over 100 in 2 of his 3 UFC wins. Strength of schedule is not even close. It's Choi by a mile. Over 70 in almost every category. Meanwhile, Culibao under 60 in 2 categories. I mean, 58-48 last 5 opponent pro record. Absolute nonsense. Terrible. Last 5, as you can see in the UFC. Then the raw DraftKings points per minute. Very bad for Culibao, but only 3 fight set sample size. He is well below his opponent, but trending up. Meanwhile, Choi also below his opponent, also trending up. So at least they're headed in the right direction. Here are my projections, very low, as you would assume. I mean, we're not even cracking triple digits for a first round finish for Culibao, according to his pace that he currently puts on and the pace that Choi allows. So definitely better numbers here for Choi. DraftKings visual statistical recap. It's Choi, and it is Choi everywhere. Culibao has no grappling points, no finish win percentage. The only part he's barely sticking out in is distance striking win. Here are the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages. Pretty high, 57%, 58% in wins, 80% in losses overall. Once you get into the UFC, drops down as you would expect, 25%. Their losses, though, still up there. That's why you kind of have to target this one. That number here tells you a lot about what you need to know if this fight could potentially finish inside the distance. These 4 numbers are the ones I pay attention to the most, and very high in UFC losses. Finishes 3 out of 4, I believe it was. So that's why you kind of can't fade this one into nothing. We'll have a bit of both sides, but cash gameplay is definitely going to be. Next fight, Brendan Allen going against Jacob Malkoun, the wrestling darling. This might be my favorite underdog on the card. Now, hopefully saying that he is 3 inches shorter and 2-inch reach disadvantage, but Malkoun has made the optimal in 2 out of his last 2 UFC fights. $7,200 is one of the best underdog salaries to play. In fact, I think it is the very best underdog salary to play, with 3 of its 4 wins making the optimal lineup, something crazy like that. And in this spot, we get Jacob Malkoun, wrestler, 6.07 points a minute, number 1 on the whole card. Number 1, 121 points per win, almost 122. That is first on the card as well. Did give up 127 when he lost, but only allows 1.59 points per minute. Excuse me, got a water hiccup there. So that is a very good defensive pace. Also, he's $200 less than his average salary. Can you believe it? And he's got an 11 average value. Absolutely love the play on Jacob Malkoun this week, even if you don't think he's going to win. 7,200. Check out this wrestling upside. What is this? 3.56 points per minute in takedowns and control time. How can you pass that up? Meanwhile, Brendan Allen allows 0.76 points per minute in those categories. He is $9,000 this week. 3.45 points a minute. Good pace. Only 96 when he wins, though. Does give up 117 when he loses. So when he loses, Brendan Allen loses big. He is also $550 over his average salary. Yeah, I like this fight for GPPs. I really do. I think it's, even if it goes to decision, Malkoun could score a gazillion points if he can land a few takedowns. What is Brendan Allen's takedown defense? 37.5%. 5 of 8 is what he's been hit with. 5 of 8 takedowns. That is dog shit. Malkoun should easily be able to take him down, I think. Bank some control time and just rinse and repeat, baby. Rinse and repeat. That's what I'd love to see. If that happens, Malkoun's going to score a ton of points. 7,200 will for sure make the optimal lineup. But if that doesn't happen, Malkoun has been finished once in his UFC career. And Brendan Allen also has 3 UFC actually 4 UFC finishes out of 6 UFC. So definitely a side you have to play a bit of there, the Allen side. I'm going to be way more on the Malkoun side, obviously. Breakdown so far. Brendan Allen with the bit better strength of schedule, but both guys pretty good. We're over 70 in a couple of these categories here. Better. Brendan Allen losing to Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland in his last 2. No big deal there. Those are 2 good names. Then Jacob Malkoun dropped his UFC debut to Phil Hawes. Very early KO finish. It was about 20 seconds, in fact. But then turned it around with huge decision wins over Razak Al Hassan, Uncle Weezy's favorite fighter. Shout out Weezy. And AJ Dobson in his last fight, absolute demolishing. Scored 129, 114 in both those. So you have to play the Malkoun side. You absolutely have to. And you get him on sale this week, $7,200. I could not be happier about that. Here are my projections. Much, much larger projections for Malkoun Allen, as you expect. That 6 points a minute. Fantastic. Here is the DraftKings visual statistical recap. And obviously Malkoun on the grappling side, value per win, DKP per win. Meanwhile, Allen finishing fights more, but still not scoring as well. But the bonus points are there for sure. Then the aggregate pro and UFC finishing percentages, pretty high. Computer Monk likely thinks this one will finish inside the distance. Wait, really? What did I just say? Yeah, according to these, Computer Monk thinks it will finish inside the distance. I don't know about that, but I will be on the Malkoun side. But like we said, these guys together have made the optimal lineup in 3 out of their past 6 fights. So definitely one to target for sure. Next fight, Ramazan Emeev, and we are killing it, guys. I think we got 4 fights left. 5 fights left. We're at half an hour. All right. Going against Jack Della Maddalena. Maddalena, 1 UFC fight. Went up against someone named Pete Rodriguez, who's fought like 4 times professionally. I don't know. 9 points per minute, 117 per win. Looked great in that fight, obviously. He should have smashed Pete Rodriguez in the first round, which he did. So there you go. Going against Ramazan Emeev, $8,000, has made the optimal in one of his past 2 fights. 2.72 points a minute, only 75 when he wins. His defensive pace is fantastic, allowing only 1.44 points a minute, 51 in his 1 or 2 over his 2 UFC losses on average. He is also $900 under average salary. Both guys well under their average salary. So if you like either one of them, this is the time to play them. See, Maddalena, like I said, not a ton of stats for him. All striking, 100% striking. Meanwhile, Emeev scores, 1.25 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Pretty good there. That is what we are looking for those stats. Maddalena has not defended did not have to defend a takedown. Beat Rodriguez. Let's see. Emeev with the better strength of schedule. Actually, it's pretty close. Surprisingly, Maddalena has a decent strength of schedule. Emeev did just come off a loss to Danny Roberts. Not a good look there. Split decision where the metrics say that he actually won. Beat Zawada Stoltz and lost to Rocco Martin. Man, I just don't know really what to say about this fight. You played Jack Della Maddalena in GPPs for that huge, early knockout potential, but Emeev's only been finished twice in his pro career and never in the UFC. This is in 7 UFC fights, 2 of them losses, has yet to be finished. I'd say probably play Emeev cash, Maddalena GPPs. That's probably how I'll target this one. And at 8,200 and 8,000, I mean, that's going to be pretty simple. When did Emeev make the optimal lineup? It probably would have been his 93-point win. Somehow he squeezed optimal lineup in there. No, that would have. Yes, maybe. He's a very expensive fighter historically. Maddalena with the much larger real estate, but again, smaller sample size, only 1 fight. And Emeev, a huge chunk of his graph missing here because he has no finish win in the UFC. So a lot like Movsar Evloev in the fact he's fought about 7 times in the UFC and has never had a finish. Skill-wise, I think we're on a very different level, but saying Peter Monk probably thinks this one finishes or goes the distance rather. But yeah, this one is a bit interesting. Do your tape. Emeev for cash and Maddalena in GBPs is how I'm probably looking at this. Again, it is Sunday morning right now, 6 days before the fight, so things might change, but that's my early look. Jiri Bontorin going against Manel Kape. This one could be interesting. Bontorin just had a very close fight with Brandon Royval in which he lost a split decision, but I thought he won that fight, to be honest. $7,000 for Bontorin, huge discount, $550 less his average salary, 2.73 points a minute, 80 on average when he wins. Does give up a lot of points though, 3.32 and 96 when he loses. Not something you want to see against Manel Kape here. 3.04 points per minute, 119.58 on average over his 2 UFC wins. He is $9,200 this week, so he is going to need scores like that to pay that salary off. He has made the optimal in his 2 wins since January 1st, or in his 2 wins in the UFC, I should say. So that is a huge green flag. 2.35 points a minute is what he gives up, but only allows 65 as a whole when he loses. 450 over his average salary. This is probably a GPP fight right here. Likely a big GPP fight. The winner. What's Bontorin's finish rate? See, he's finished 14 out of 17 wins, but only 1 out of 3 in the UFC. So if either one of these guys gets a finish, that is what we're looking for. They're definitely, not definitely, but could make the optimal lineup. The way Manel Kape scores is absolutely incredible. So let's see. He's made the optimal twice with a $9,400 salary and a $9,000 salary. So he's right in the middle here. I see no problem. Gets a finish like he has, taking the optimal lineup. There's no reason to think he can't do that. Meanwhile, Bontorin 2-3 in his last 5. Dropping to, like I said, Royval, France, and Ray Borg. So pretty decent competition. Meanwhile, Kape also losing to decent competition in Nicolau and Pantoja. Raw DraftKings points per minute rates trending up is Kape and pretty well above his opponent here. Bontorin getting outscored and ever so slightly trending up. Here are my projections. Again, whatever you think is going to happen here, so I think it will score much higher for Manel Kape, as you would expect, compared to Bontorin. And Kape with the much greater real estate. Bontorin sticking out in that strength of victory, and then the grappling point as well. Here's the aggregate professional career UFC finish. Win-loss percentages. Pretty decent in wins, very high in wins. In losses, they're not out here getting finished. 30% on average. With that. Yeah, guys, this one's going to be a GPP play here at $7,000. If Bontorin, even wins with an 80, 90-point win, that could put him on the optimal lineup. 12 fights this week. Everyone, I think, last week on UFC Vegas 56 made the optimal. They were over triple digits. So it could be what we're looking at here. But anytime a low salary fight like $7,000 wins, always a chance it could make the optimal. So cheap. Meanwhile, Kape, you cannot fade him just because his salary is high. He's right in the middle of where he has been in his previous 2 UFC wins, and he's clearly shown that he can put up very high numbers. So you have to play the Kape side, have to play the Bontorin side, I think, as well. I'll probably be higher on Kape, though. He might be one of my higher $9,000 Now we're getting into the 3 fights with heavy implications as far as titles go. The rematch between Weili Zhang going against Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Jedrzejczyk, $7,400, very cheap this week. 10-4 in the UFC, 2.96 points a minute, 97 when she wins. Allows only 2.28, but gives up 100 on average when she does lose. She's $1,100 under her average salary, average value of 9.72. Second highest DraftKings points per loss rate in the UFC, or on this card, I should say, 45.53 points when she loses. So not bad there. Weili Zhang right under her as far as that stat goes. Meanwhile, 8,800 for Weili, 3.62 points a minute, and over 100 when she wins. In fact, 104. Very, very good. 7th highest number on the card. Good defensive pace, 2.29 points a minute, but does allow 101 points when she loses. So, guys, each time these women lose, they average over 100 points, or their opponents average over 100 points, I should say. 2.71 or 271 over her average salary, average value of 10. 2 fantastic fighters right here. This is a must play. I don't like the salaries. I hate the $8,800 salary. I hate the $7,400 salary. Statistically, they do not make the optimal at good rates, but I mean, this one could go all 5. How did this score in the last time they fought? Weili scored 104, and Joanna scored 78. Fantastic. Play both sides of this one. That's what I would do. You just don't know what's going to happen. Somebody could get finished, I guess. I think this one goes the distance, and I think the winner puts up 100, 110 points. Excuse me. And I think they could make the optimal lineup. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. The stats are just great for both of them. I mean, Weili put up over 100 in 3 of her 5 UFC wins. Meanwhile, Joanna over 110 in 5 of her 10 UFC wins. She's given up over 100 in 3 of 4 losses. Zhang is given up over 100 in both of her losses. Someone's going to score very well. This is going to be a striking clinic. It's going to be a great fight to watch. Jedrzejczyk with the better strength of schedule, pretty much all around. Man, I'm excited for this one. Raw DraftKings points per minute graph. Jedrzejczyk well above her opponent and trending up. Projections here, in case you are interested. Pretty good projections, as you would expect. Both these women scoring very well per minute. And in a 20, or actually, this one's only 15 minutes. You got to remember that. I almost forgot. This one's only 15 minutes, guys. So maybe drop your exposures just a little bit. They have 10 less minutes to score. I almost forgot about that. Maybe drop your GPP exposures 5% because of that. I might, honestly. But that said, because I believe the last time they fought was for a title. Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure it's been 5 rounds. So this one is only 3 rounds, but both women scoring tremendous points on the feet. Man, this is going to be a great fight. I'll be both sides for GPP. Cash, flip a coin. Women's Flyweight Championship. Valentina Bullet Shevchenko going against Taila Santos. Taila, I always say Taila, that's wrong. Taila Santos, 19-1 professionally. She's the cheapest fighter on the slate this week. She's going up against Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, she does score 4.04 points a minute, 103 when she wins. She's $2,000 under her average salary. I'm trying to see what else. She scores 1.84 points per minute in takedowns and control time. She has 86% takedown defense. Strength of schedule is trash. Under 60 and under 60 or under across the board. Has won her last 4. One fight she did lose was, strangely, Maria Romero Barella. So not a good look there. Shevchenko has made the optimal in 1 out of her last 2 fights, same as Taila. But 9,600, the most expensive fighter on the card. As you know, if you know me, I will be fading the $9,600 fight. They do this to us on purpose. Only one time is the $9,600 salary made the lineups in 12 uses. That was Marvin Vettori when he scored 150 points against Kevin Holland. But Shevchenko does score 3.37 points a minute, 108 when she wins. Very good numbers. Only allows 1.64 and 74 when she loses. Average value of 10. She's only $382 over her average salary. She's the highest possible. That salary has a win rate of 83%. I mean, I don't have to go on about Shevchenko. She's got a great strength of schedule, over 70 across the board, no defeats in her last 5. Um, you know what it is. Here are my projections. Here's the visual statistical recap in which Shevchenko dominates every category. Here's the professional and UFC career finishing percentages. I like Shevchenko for cash. I don't like her for GPPs. I'll be under the field likely. That salary just does not pay itself off ever, never. Taila Santos, sure, I'll have a little bit in GPPs, but I really don't think I'd be shocked if she beats Shevchenko. The 19-1 record looks tempting and looks cool and all that, but this is Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think she's ready to lose yet. I don't think she's in this fight. So, yeah, I guess Santos in GPPs and Shevchenko in cash is how I would. We did it, guys. Main event of the evening. Before we get into it, thank you for sticking with me. Please like the video, sub to the channel. We are on the road to 300 subs, and you guys are killing it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Glover Teixeira has made the optimal in his last fight, same as Jiri Prochazka. Teixeira, $7,300. He's the champ, getting disrespected by the odds makers here. He's $555 under average salary, 3.48 points per minute, 107 when he wins. My goodness, Glover Teixeira putting up numbers. Does give up 3.01 points a minute and 115 when he loses. So his opponents, when they win, also putting up numbers. 10.85 average value. Tons of points flying around Glover Teixeira fights, and he's fighting Jiri Prochazka. What do I have to say about this guy? $8,900, 4.71 points a minute. That might be one of the higher ones on the card. But as we know, I don't rank fighters until they hit 3 UFC fights. He has no rankings or no rank next to his name. That's what NR means. 106 when he wins. Fantastic. Does give up 3.24 points a minute. Is $850 over his average salary, but an average value of 13 and raw DraftKings point differential of 1.5 per minute. What are we doing here? Love this fight for GPPs. Absolutely love both sides. Not picking a side for cash at all. If I am, I don't know. I guess I'm not. I'm playing this one in GPPs for sure. Glover, 87%, 87.5% of his wins over. So what's that? 14 wins over 90, 12 of them over 100. My goodness, 31% over 110. Wow, though. Wow. All 5 of his UFC losses, he's given up over 100. All 5. 4 of them been over 110. So when Glover's losing, Glover's losing. So put Jiri in your GPP lineups, that's for sure. This one's going to be exciting for as long as it lasts. I do not see this one going the distance. I think Jiri can beat him, but again, this guy does have like 34, 32 professional fights. Only 2 of them in the UFC. I feel like some of these guys, we overvalue their records, and once they hit the stage, they have so much hype that we just green light them all the way through. And Glover Teixeira is 42 years old, closer to 43 than 42. There's no way that he should win this fight. But this is Glover Teixeira, one of the toughest sons of bitches in the entire UFC. So, I mean, just to say that Prochazka is going to come out here and smash him, he could, but that's not something I'm really planning on happening. I do probably think he does win inside the distance within the first 2 rounds, but we saw what happened against Jan from a simple can opener, and that dude just got destroyed. So big questions here as far as, what kind of damage Glover's going to be able to take and how much respect Prochazka has for Teixeira and how that will show itself. Could be interesting here. Big GPP fight. Obviously, the strength of schedule goes to Teixeira. Prochazka sub 70 in his strength of schedule. See, this is another thing. Sub 70 strength of schedule. So just got to pay attention to some of this stuff. Do your fight tape. My point isn't to disparage Prochazka or to say that he will lose this fight. Just think got to see a little bit more before I'm putting like 60% Prochazka in my lineups. I'll be less than that, that's for sure. Teixeira with wins over Gutalaba, Krylov, Smith, Santos, and Blachowicz. Fantastic. Here are the raw DraftKings points per minute graphs. Both men are outscoring their opponents and trending up. Here are my projections, super high projections across the board. We got 5 rounds of them right here. Even though, as I said, I don't think we'll need all 5 rounds, but you never know. Then Prochazka with the more real estate and the visual statistical recap. Excuse me. And then the average professional in UFC career finishing percentages, pretty high. So we'll have to see what Computer Monk thinks if one finishes inside the distance. I think it does. I'm going to be playing both sides of this one. Glover Teixeira at 7,300 is a good deal. He is the champ. And he's not just going to give that belt up. So while I will be picking Prochazka to win this fight inside the distance, I'm definitely not counting Glover out. So guys, again, we did it. All 12 fights. Before we go, let's check out Computer Monk's picks. Got absolutely slaughtered in his bets last week. First things first, UFC Vegas 56. Here we go. Scroll up a little bit. Here was the optimal lineup. I'm pretty sure. I haven't double checked this, but I'm 99% sure this is what it was. Movsar Evloev, 129.61. Lucas Almeida, Karine Silva, Alonzo Menafield, Karolina Kovalkiewicz, and Benoit Saint-Denis. If you had that one, scored 677. Put up a pretty, I mean, that's a really impressive lineup if you ran that. So $49,800 was the salary. Pretty good there. Computer Monk did all right. 9 and 5 increased that percentage. We're back up to just under 61%. And here are Computer Monk's picks for UFC 275. In no particular order. I know the order is off on this. Jake Matthews over Fialho, Danaa Bakary, Sungwoo Choi, Steve Garcia, Jocelyn Edwards, Jacob Malkoun, Na Liang, Jack Della Maddalena, Manel Kape, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, Valentina Shevchenko, and Jiri Prochazka. Prochazka by finish. Who else? Long by finish, Malkoun by finish, Choi by finish, and Matthews, interestingly enough, by finish. So I do actually like all those plays. I don't disagree with any of the underdog picks. I absolutely love those picks right there. So that is Computer Monk for UFC Vegas, for UFC 275 rather. Guys, we did it. Look at these 3 handsome guys right here. Can you picture, like, if you mixed his head, his beard, huh? That's me. Anyways, guys, thank you for sticking around again. Like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Check out teamriserfall.com. Use code MONK, M-O-N-K. Save yourself on a subscription and start winning money today. But again, thank you for joining me. Be sure to stay tuned in for the rest of the week. Like I said, I will try to put out content on the regular schedule, if not early, but it might be a little wonky because I am traveling this week. So maybe you'll even catch Monk poolside. We'll have to see about that. Maybe I'll stunt on him on the Wednesday show, hit him up by the pool. But anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fights. So enjoy, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.